Well, hello, everyone. It's your girl, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, CEO of C-Suite Women's Network, where I help women and a few good men to be the CEOs of their lives so they can be better CEOs of their business. And you know what time it is? It is time for Conversations from the C-Suite. We will be beginning our broadcast very shortly, but as we always do, we want to invoke the power of three. I'd like to ask you to take a few moments to invite someone to the broadcast because this is a conversation and we don't want to be just talking to ourselves. So please invite at least three friends and share it out to at least three groups because we're going to be talking about some great things because remember, we're making CEO moves. So we want to have somebody on here to move with us. So I'm just going to take a few minutes and share it out myself. And we're going to get this broadcast started shortly. So in the meantime, grab your favorite beverage, hang tight, and invite. Well, welcome to Conversations from the C-Suite. I am your host, Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, CEO of C-Suite Women's Network, where I help women and a few good men to be the CEOs of their lives so they can be better CEOs of their businesses. And we want to make sure that you have those strategies that you need to create the life you desire and deserve because every woman deserves to be the CEO of her life. She needs to have a seat at the table. And not only should she have a seat at the table, but create a seat at the table for others because there is power when women gather. Conversations from the C-Suite is a power-packed hour that provides women a platform to share their business and career experiences because we know that life doesn't end when you leave the office. We have to work to elevate our mindset and compel each other to take action because CEOs don't just wait for great things to happen. They make great things happen. And the C-suite in any business is where the decisions are made. It is the top. And so your life has a C-suite. It is where you make the decisions to create the life you desire and deserve. And of course, what does a CEO do? Just like the name says, the chief executive officer executes. They get things done. The CEO is responsible for making the decisions, for coming up with a strategy, for pulling together a team, inspiring that team to get the job done. Now, on your journey to the C-suite, you may be in any one of three places. You may be a CEO on the rise. You are just getting started. You have your aspirations. You're taking that first step and you just need the inspiration, the motivation, but most of all, the education in order to move yourself forward. You may be a CEO on the move. You've been making those CEO moves, but you're ready to take it to the next level. And then finally, you may be the CEO. You may be in your C-suite, but just like any champion, a CEO knows that you can always elevate. You can always take it higher because there's always an opportunity for you to improve and get even better. Conversations from the C-Suite is the girlfriend's guide to being a CEO. It's where women, sometimes a few good men, have powerful conversations about real things that matter to real women. And in the C-Suite, we make CEO moves. We want you to feel something, learn something, but most of all, do something. When you make CEO moves, you create circles of influence, you educate and empower yourself for elevation, and you operationalize what you learn so that you can optimize your outcome. And this is indeed a conversation. Like I said, we don't want to be on here talking to ourselves. We want to make sure that we've got some great women and a few good men around the table. So make sure that you invite, Make sure that you share your comments. We want to hear from you. And if you have questions, we will be certain to get those answered as well. So remember, whether you report to a CEO or you are the CEO of your own business, you are always the CEO of your life. And so we want to focus on strategies that help you to capitalize on your most powerful asset, the power of choice, the power to choose to create an extraordinary outcome in your business and your life. So are you ready? Are you ready to enter the C-suite? Well, then you are in the right place. I am so excited about tonight's show because we're going to be helping you to make sure you don't get caught up in them D's. You know, those D's that can be devastating to you. We want you to be able to plan for what you didn't plan for, because it's never easy to deal with the unexpected, but it is always easy to plan for it. Divorce, disability, and death can wreak havoc on your finances. And while you hope that those things never materialize, you have to be wise and prepare for if they do. So I've got a treat for you. I've got my dear friend, great trusted financial advisor, none other than Dana Brahnam. And I'm going to just tell you a few things about Dana before I bring her up to the virtual stage here. Dana is a firecracker, a CEO in her own right. She is a financial advisor and established lasting legacy wealth management. She began her career as in the brokerage industry and is now a part of Lexmark International, a global technology company headquartered in Lexington, Kentucky. Because we are going to, this is an aside, because y'all know here in the C-suite, I get off script just a little bit. Because she's in Kentucky, we're planning a bourbon tour. Yeah, I hadn't forgotten about that. But she will be able to tell you about how to plan for those D's, because she is a financial powerhouse and helps women to make those wise decisions to be able to invest and be able to take care of their finances and be their own personal CFO. So without any further ado, I want to bring to the virtual stage none other than the powerhouse, Dana Brahnam. Hey, Dana, welcome to the C-suite.
Hey, thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Well, I'm so glad that you're here. We have been planning this for months, y'all. We talked about this. I don't know. Was it a year ago? It's been a year ago. I can't remember. We were at a meeting of some kind, because she and I are in the same illustrious sorority, Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and we have served alongside each other on a committee for the past 2 years. And in between service, we talk about taking care of business. And so we've been planning this for a while. So Dana, I am so glad to have you here in the C-suite. And you know how we get started. I want to ask who you are. I've told them a little bit about who you are, what you do. They've heard a little bit, but most of all, why do you make CEO moves?
So as Stephanie said, I'm Dana Brahnam, and I've not been introduced as a powerhouse before, but I'll take it.
Yeah,
sure. I like that.
Yeah,
trying to become more of a powerhouse. I will say that. But yeah, so that I am Dana Brahnam. I'm a financial advisor. I have been for over 12 years now, and have made some great strides in the financial services industry, and trying to make even more, and trying to I pulled real estate in recently. So I'm trying to make CEO moves because I want to live the life that I dreamed of, but I also want to help other people do the same thing.
All right. So why do you make those CEO moves? And how are you making
them? Why do I make them?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do I want to live a different life than what I have seen. Mm-hmm. And I want to inspire the next generation to do the same thing, to make different decisions about their money, because money rules the world. It just does, and whether we like it or not. So we have to make better decisions regarding money, whether it's the small thing that you can buy, the pack of gum in the store, to how you buy your house. We have to make better decisions around all of those things.
Right. And, one of the things that we really focus on here in the C-suite is the power of decisions. And there's so many instances where, as the CEOs of our lives, we abdicate the power of our decisions. We think that we don't have a choice. We think that, oh my gosh, this bad thing has happened and now I'm helpless. And while it is certainly something that's devastating, you always have the power of decisions. And one of the things that I want to stress, throughout today, as we're talking about dealing with them D's, and the 3 D's that we're going to talk about in particular, just dealing with divorce. What happens when you face that? How can you prepare yourself afterwards or even before? Disability, either disability of yourself or of your spouse. And then in the event that your spouse passes away unexpectedly, because these are 3 Ds that, again, we never plan for. We hope they never happen, but they can happen. And as women, we need to be prepared to keep our feelings out our finances and be able to make those wise financial decisions. So Dana, let's just say, I'm walking into your office and I'm facing one of them D's, or maybe I might be facing all 3 of them because I'm ready to kill him. But what would you say to me or any woman who is placed in that position and now feels like, oh my God, what do I do? How do I get past this?
Right. So this is so timely because I actually just had a conversation with someone who's contemplating divorce today. And what happens is you have to know where you are. I mean, I think that's the start of everything. Whatever we have to know where we are right now so we can make an informed and educated decision to go forward. So my task is to help someone figure out where they are, and then go from there.
Yes. Because I know a lot of times, because I know, like, even in my situation, when I, was faced with the possibility of divorce, the very first thing that you're thinking about is, oh my gosh, what's going to happen way down the line? But like you say, it's important to think about where you are right now and to really get your wit about yourself. So,
Absolutely.
So like with the, when you're faced with that situation, what are some things that, what do you need to be thinking about specifically? Because I know, you're dealing with the emotions. That's why I say, even though we have to deal with our feelings when it comes to our finances, we got to get our feelings out of our finances. But, what does that assessment look like? What do you actually need to look at?
Sure. So I'm looking at what assets do you have? And so that's assets as in physical assets. It can be financial assets. Excuse me. I'm looking at all of that. So one of the challenges, though, believe it or not, in 2018, I still run across women who have no idea the answer to some of those questions, like what's in your checking account? What's in your savings account? What investments do you have? Sorry about that. Where, do you have property? Is your name on the title? Do you own your car? All of those things you need to know. So the better thing is to already know that. Rather than waiting until then to try to figure it out.
Right. And, and one of the things that I said in the intro is, like, these are not things that you can plan for, but you can plan for them in the event, when you get married, you're not planning to get divorced. When, you are in a relationship, you're not planning for your spouse to face a disability or to die unexpectedly, or for you to experience a disability. And the whole thing that we want to talk about here is the importance of being prepared and not being pessimistic and not, thinking in anything from a negative perspective, but being an active part of your finances so that you are not put in a position, either by, a choice of someone else. He decides that he wants a divorce, or those things that happen unexpectedly, death or disability, that you're not placed in a position where you don't know. So it's really important. Again, with being the CEO of your life, it's about positioning yourself to make those decisions so that, you may never have to think about it or never have to actually act upon it, but you do want to know what you need to know so that you can be in a position of power in the sense that you're acting out of knowledge as opposed to acting out of ignorance.
So totally agree with that. And if here's the thing about that.
I think we lost you for a minute. Can I hear you? Are you able to hear me? Let's see. I think we may have lost Dana for just a moment. But while she gets her connection back together, because it looks like she's frozen. And, you know, this is the thing. This is a perfect illustration in analogy or metaphor that, you know, sometimes you've got to be able to respond to things that happen unexpectedly. So when we began this broadcast, I was not expecting for her to freeze up, but she has. So we're gonna keep it moving and make sure that we continue, because, you know, life is going to throw things at you, and it's almost as if, you know, you have to be one step ahead. Well, you have to be one step ahead. And so, you know, I bring to this experience, you know, I am an attorney, and, you know, served in for many years in the capacity of counsel to corporations and small businesses. And one of the things, even on the attorney side, you know, I have to make sure that I am able to keep my clients focused on the desired outcome. And when you're faced with these D's, divorce, disability, or death, you know, it is important for you to focus on the desired outcome and not the present situation, because you can't turn back the hands of time, and you can't change, you know, what has already happened. But what you can do is position yourself to be able to make good decisions going forward. So, you know, and the other part of this is, you know, I have faced these issues just personally, and I've been very fortunate in that I've been able to draw on my strengths as an attorney to be able to focus on the finances, focus on the desired outcome, but it's not always easy. So I just want to set it up by saying, you know, when you're faced with these things, you know, the first thing to do is, you know, to face the feelings, because it is hurtful when you are experiencing a loss. And in any of those 3 D's that we've talked about, it's a loss, and it is natural to feel hurt. It's natural to feel angry. It's natural to feel fearful, but you can't stay in that moment. So, you know, it is important to just deal with the fact that you are facing these issues and deal with your emotions. So you don't, when I say get your feelings out of your finances, I'm not saying pretend like nothing is going on and pretend like everything is okay. But what I'm saying is, it's important for you to focus on what you need to focus on when you need to focus on it. So when you are needing to deal with your issues, you know, deal with those. But when you've got to decide, and again, we're going to use this word a lot, and I use it a lot in the C-suite because the power of decision is so incredibly important. And I love the word decide, because decide literally means to cut off. And so when you cut off all other options but the choice that you need to make at that moment, it really positions you from a vantage point of strength, as opposed to a vantage point of being, you know, of being weak, you know, or being at a disadvantage. And you have to focus on the desired outcome. And anytime you are faced with those D's, with any kind of devastation resulting from divorce, death, or disability, the desired outcome is to get past it, and not just to get past it, and not just to survive, but to thrive. And, you know, being a CEO really means that you pull up on the resources of one, the knowledge that you already have, and 2, making sure that you are able to collaborate with those who have a superior knowledge. Because one of the smart things about CEOs is they don't do everything themselves. Like if you think about the CEO of a company, they're not running the mail room. They're not running the operations. They're not running, you know, the front line, the customer service. What do? they tap into teams, people, experts in these different areas. And when they do that, it strengthens them as individuals. Because a lot of times, we feel like we have to shoulder this responsibility by ourselves. And I know I'm guilty of this myself because, I think I'm superwoman. I have fabulous on my necklace, but sometimes I think I really do have an S on my chest and I want to do everything by myself. But the thing is that I'm stronger when I align myself with people who have superior knowledge. So when you're faced with this situation and you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do, and you may truly not know what to do, but as being a smart CEO of your life, don't try to do it by yourself. You can engage people like Dana, financial advisors who do know what to do. Because not only do they have the expertise to be able to pull it in, they know the industry. We've got Dana back. We're going to pull her back up. All right. Not only, and this is perfect timing, Dana, because I was talking about connecting with the financial advisor, but not only do they know, what to do, they have the advantage that you don't, in that they can look at things objectively. Because it's really hard to separate the subjectiveness of your emotions from the objective things that you need to do as a financial advisor. So we've got Dana back. And so what I was sharing, so that's how we do as CEOs. When we run into technical difficulties, we just keep it moving. And that's why you have a great team. Dana, I had your back while you were getting back on here. All right. So what I was just sharing, is the importance of leveraging your individual strengths with those of experts, and in your case, as a financial advisor. So if she's trying to kind of figure out, okay, what do I do next? Who needs to be on her team, so to speak, and how is it best for her to go about really tapping into those resources so that she doesn't have to do it all by herself?
Sure. And I'm glad you said to seek the advice of a professional, because in this industry, well, as in many, people like to do things themselves, but I liken it to you. Now, I might put off going to the doctor, but eventually I'm going to go. Yeah. Because the doctor's going to know what my health problem is. Right. An attorney's going to know what your legal issue is. So a financial advisor is going to be able to help you identify what is your real issue regarding your money. And I like to be the middle of, if you think of a wheel with a middle, and then there are spokes going out from that, I like to be that middle of that wheel as far as the decision someone is making. So first, yes, come to a financial advisor, a professional, to help you figure out, do you need a CPA or do you need just a tax preparer? Do you need, what kind of attorney do you need? Is that an estate attorney? Do you need a divorce attorney? Maybe. Or do you just need a family law practice, right? Do you need to seek out some advice on long-term care? I mean, all of those things. And of course, everything we do in our life surrounds money, or the money surrounds us, hopefully. So a financial advisor can help you figure out and navigate all of those avenues appropriately, and as it fits into whatever long-term strategy that you guys have identified yourselves.
Yes. And so, it's really important, like you say, to partner up and be open to advice. Because I'll just say this, I'm an attorney and I've practiced law for 20 something years at this point. And, even when, I was going through my divorce, for example, I didn't try to do everything myself, because even though I'm smart and I know the law and I know this and that, I knew that I needed to rely on someone else who, one, could see things subjectively, and two, just had a greater area, because the divorce law, family law, all of those things, that's not my specialty. I specialize in other things. So, it's important to be open to advice. And for the woman who comes to you and is trying to be strong and does know, something about finances and does know, it is not completely unaware of kind of all of the different aspects. What are some of the challenges that you have with getting people to be open, and how do you work through that?
One of the biggest challenges is getting people to see the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
So, for instance, I'm not a stockbroker.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not looking at the stock market. I could not tell you at all today what the stock market did. And probably for the past couple of months, I don't know what the stock market's doing, because it really matters not to me for the most part what the stock market's doing today. Mm-hmm. Because my clients, I am investing them for the long term. So unless you're looking at retiring like right now, it doesn't matter, because we know what the stock market has done in the past 80 years, and it's always been up over normal time frames of investing. Mm-hmm. So, but getting people to understand that and to act accordingly. So they might even understand it, but I've had several clients who we've invested them in long-term products, and then they come back 2 months later and say, hey, I need some money out. It's like, no, that's not what this money is for. Right. So the biggest challenge is, and it usually is, those people who have just a little bit of knowledge.
No, just enough to be dangerous.
Enough to be dangerous. And then they're off and running. And it's like, no, you came to me for advice. This is my advice. We came up with gave you recommendations. You accepted the recommendations. So how about we fill out this plan the way that it's supposed to be? So if we need to go somewhere else and find that short-term money, okay, let's do that. But let's not mess up this long-term plan, because trust me, in 20 years, you're going to be mad that you did whatever it is you're doing to try to satisfy this short-term need.
Right. And I think the biggest message that you're sharing there is, don't panic, and to really be, that's why I say, you've got to get your feelings out, your finances, because financial decisions that are made based on feelings just typically don't turn out well. It's got to be based on logic. It's got to be based on, the long term and the big picture. What are you truly trying to accomplish? Because remember, I said earlier, you've got to focus on the desired outcome. And it's hard. And I know this from personal experience. I know it from dealing with different people. It is hard when you're in the moment of the panic, when you're in the moment of the devastation, when you need money to pay your bills right now, not yesterday.
Right now.
You need it right now, to really focus on the desired outcome. And, it is something that I have to, I practice a lot more than I'd like to these days. Being an entrepreneur, I've got a teenage son, I've got one in college, all these unexpected things. And one of the things that, that I do myself, and it's something that's really important, is you have to, again, allow yourself to have that moment of panic, cry, curse, pray, whatever it is you need to do. But, deal with that emotion. But then make a decision, though, that you're not going to allow that emotion to drive your decisions, because, like you say, the decisions. I always believe, that the decisions you make right now create a future outcome. The thoughts that you have create a future outcome, and so you really have to be deliberate about what you're doing right now and think about the future you're creating. Yes. So that's a great point about how important it is just to chill out and not to completely panic. So
I will say this: it is important. So part of the financial plan, and this is why it's so important, going back to before our little break there, to know where people are.
Yes.
And people tend to, especially when it comes to money, not want to share everything.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I can't give you the best recommendations if I don't know everything. And you might be embarrassed about it. But trust me, a true professional cares not about that. They've seen everything and been through a whole lot themselves. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. But so you have to say everything, because the worst thing is to have that surprise where you need to pay bills right now and we've invested your money.
Right.
Right. So had we known, and yeah, things come up, and those can be worked through. But had we known, then we would have set aside some for shorter term goals and then had the rest for longer term. And sometimes you don't get to invest.
Mm-hmm.
And a true professional will tell you that too.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that conversation with several people. I'm like, it's not your time to invest because you're not ready.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Right.
That's perfectly fine because I know that I'm giving them the best advice that they need at the time.
Yes. And so the point that you really drive home there is the importance of trust, because not only must you deal with people who can be trusted, but you've got to trust them to just air out all your dirty laundry. You know, because like when you go to the doctor, if you don't tell the doctor about all your symptoms, they aren't able to treat you appropriately. The same thing. You gotta just lay out all your dirty laundry. And if you have spent all your money or you've had, you know, whatever it is, you've got to be honest, because a professional can't help you if they don't have all the facts. You have to equip your team to help you. And if you don't trust them enough to do that, it's going to have negative repercussions for you. So that's another important point is, you know, pride is not the place, or pride does not have a place when you're trying to deal with these issues, because, you know, you've got to lay all that on the line so that you are able to do what it is you need to do, because you've got to equip yourself with the truth. You've got to equip your team, your trusted advisor with the truth, so that you are able to get to that desired outcome. And I just want to take a moment and just bring to you our sponsor break. Tonight's episode was brought to you by C-Suite Women's Network, where you can become equipped to make the decisions you need in your life, your business, and your career. The mission at C-Suite Women's Network is to equip women to be the CEOs of their lives, to use their education, their experience, and their influence to make the decisions to create the life they desire and deserve. So be the CEO of your life so that you can be a better CEO of your business. Get equipped to get the results you desire in your business. So go over to www.discovertheceo.in to schedule your strategy session about how you can become the CEO of your life. Now, Dana, you mentioned that you've got a story, and we've all got a story, right? So why don't you just share a little bit with our audience about some of the devastations that you've had, and how you as a CEO of your life, and also as a financial advisor, how you've been able to overcome those things yourself.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to share. So I think we're getting some feedback, so I'll turn my mic down a little bit. So I can't share all of it, and I'll tell you why. I have a book coming out soon. It's in its final stages for publishing that is going to lay all of that out. And what I will share with you is that I have found myself in a position that you would not expect a financial advisor to be. And so climbing out of that and overcoming that is what the story is about. And so I want to implore people to obviously support that. But one of the things I will say is I lost a brother 12 years ago, and we found ourselves passing the hat to pay for his funeral services. How does the family of a financial advisor get in that position? That's not cool, and that's not cute. And so, but what that taught me is I have to talk to everybody about taking care of their money and getting their business straight before they leave this earth. And so one of the things that came out of that is a little saying that I have is, don't leave your family with mess, leave your family and bless them. So bless them. Don't leave them with mess. That's ridiculous. And so the GoFundMe's and all of those things that I see, it wears me all the way out, because we can do better. And I just wrote an article for a magazine last week talking about that same thing. September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. And so that for the September article, I did one on life insurance, telling people it's way too cheap for less than just a night out.
Yeah.
And I know I sound like an infomercial, but really for less than a night out with drinks and dinner, you can insure your family. Yeah. And not leave mess.
Right.
So it's just some of those things. So one of the reasons, going back to the CEO moves, I'm trying to make CEO moves so those things don't happen for me and for others, everybody that I love.
Yeah. And you point out something that is so important for us to remember, is that even though we're CEOs, we're powerful, we're not infallible, because a lot of times, we can get, just so focused on the grind, we can get so focused on what's in front of us again, that we lose sight of what's down the line. And that's why why I use the tagline that, these are not things that it's not easy to deal with the unexpected, but it is easy to plan for it. And so, with respect, and it kind of sounds a little morbid, but I don't mean it this way, to prepare for divorce. You don't want to prepare for divorce. You want to put your energy into sustaining your marriage. But there are lots of things that can happen, and so you want to make sure, like Dana said, that the finances, and you know what you need to know. And again, if not, not necessarily to prepare for the divorce, but to be a better partner in the marriage, because the finances, you still need to work through the finances even in the marriage. So having that focus is really important. With disability, you can buy disability insurance. And I think a lot of us overlook that, because I know when I worked for a company, when you hire on, you go through the little packet and they offer you the disability insurance. You may check it, you may not, but you may not think beyond that. And then like with death, it's simple to make sure that you have life insurance so that your family doesn't have to worry about how they're going to bury you. Because, imagine, the devastation of not only the loss of the loved one, but now, oh my gosh, how are we going to bury them? So that's why it's so important to think through these things so that you can plan for the unexpected, with the hopes that you never have to use it, but you have that protection there.
Sure. And I'd like to mention just a few things on all three of those. So speaking of divorce, I mentioned I talked to somebody today about possibly getting divorced. One of the things that's very difficult for us to do, and I ran into it last week in talking to somebody, is a couple was thinking about getting divorced. One of the members of that couple contacted me, wanted to kind of figure out some financing things. And we were talking about who gets to stay in the house, who might have to buy the other out of the house and do all of these things. Well, I can't stay if he's gone or she's gone or whatever. If I can tell anybody anything about that, try your best to get a house that you can afford by yourself.
Yes.
Please. And so then you don't have to have that conversation, because if you want to stay with the kids or do whatever, then you can do that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to uproot your whole entire life because of it. I know that's difficult because we want to move on up to the east side, but if we can just hold tight and be sure we have some other ducks in a row first, that will probably go well for us. Regarding disability, you hit it right on the head. Get disability insurance if you are, especially if you're an entrepreneur. You need disability insurance, because if you can't do what you do, then there's nobody else to do it. But certainly if you work for a company and then they have disability insurance, sign up for short and long term. I know when we're sitting in those meetings, what we're thinking is all this money coming out of my check, all this money coming out of my check. Wait, this $2 and $3 adds up. I know it does. However, trust me, I have a friend who was shot 5 years ago. She was 45, I believe, at the time. She's been on disability. Thank the Lord for disability insurance in that case. Okay. And then regarding that, I can't tell you how important it is to get life insurance. And again, those are easy policies to fund. I spent $50 at McDonald's one month, so I have no excuse not to have life insurance that costs $34.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and I know we all do that. So please have life insurance in place. Regarding life insurance, be sure to update your beneficiaries.
Yes. Yeah.
You already have it, because you do not want your ex 2 times over to have your money, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So please update your beneficiaries. But then also be thinking, some of us are getting to that age where we have to think about long-term care as well. Have that on your mind. It's not something you have to fund super early, but think about it. Because again, my friend who was shot,
Yeah.
long-term care
Yeah.
is what was needed for that. So there's a lot to do, and that's why you need a professional to help you do that.
Yeah.
To navigate and know when to do what and how to do it and the best options and brokers for it. Allow your financial advisor to do that. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
We want to be sure that we're the middle of that wheel that's keeping you healthy,
Right.
all the way around financially.
Yeah, and I just want to add, because I'm going to come back to ask a question specifically about insurance and how you fund all these different things. But one of the things that I want to advocate for is making sure that you have your estate planning done. Because a lot of times, we think that wills are for old people or for millionaires. And, because I was a hospital attorney for many years, and I can't tell you how many times I was called by the nursing staff and the healthcare professionals to deal with the legal issue because the person didn't have advanced care directives. They call them different things in different states. Some states call them living wills, but making sure that you speak for yourself when you can't speak for yourself. And you don't even need a lawyer for that. I mean, honestly, those are just forms you can fill out. So that's something that you need to be thinking about, even though you don't really want to think about it. I remember years ago, y'all might remember the Terry Schiavo case. This was it Florida? Was she in Florida? I think she was in Florida. I can't remember what state it was, but Terry Schiavo fell ill and was in a vegetative state for like years. And unfortunately, her husband and her parents could not agree on whether to terminate life support or what to do. And it ended up being this court battle for years. And that woman suffered as a result of it. And so I always think about that case because you just never know what's going to happen. And, an advanced healthcare directive or living will, whatever it's called in the state you live, gives you the opportunity to speak for yourself. So that's why she talked about, she was at Hub and you have all those folks. Make sure that you talk to somebody about your advanced healthcare directive and your will. If all it says is I leave all my stuff to X,
that's fine.
Make sure
so then nobody can come back and say she didn't say that, because they will. Somebody.
Right.
We know. Unfortunately, death brings out some of the worst things in people. Even if there's nothing but a chair that was over in the corner that you used to sit in, somebody wants it.
Everybody love a chair. Oh, that's the most special chair. Oh, every time they get real crazy. And I'll say this too, especially if you have blended families.
Yes.
Don't tear your blended family up because you don't say who gets what. Because it's a lot of emotions, it's a lot of things that comes into play. And you just want to make sure that, again, you're making decisions for yourself and decisions that are going to help your family, because you don't want them to be not only dealing with the loss of you or the loss of your loved one, your spouse, but, this is a conversation y'all need to have about all right, how we going to handle this, because I know my ex-husband and I, we would often have conversations about, if one of us was to become in a vegetative state, if we want to coma, what do we want to do? We want to make sure that we had those things worked out. And so that's a really important conversation to have. Now, you talked about insurance, life insurance, disability insurance. Are there other ways other than GoFundMe to prepare for those expenses? I mean, is it wise to have an investment in lieu of that, or just for people to know about what the options are for how to plan for those things other than GoFundMe? We're gonna X that off.
That is not an option. Let's say that right now. That's not the real option. So there's not a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are some people out there, and I don't know many of them, who can self-insure,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. People typically they need to pay debts off. That's the other D that we can't even get into today.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
That's
have debts to pay off.
yeah.
So I'm going to give your subscribers a little tool to figure out how much life insurance they need. And so if they have it, if you got this amount of money set aside, then you're good. The rest of us have to pay for some life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But the acronym is life, and it's liabilities. So what debts do you have that need to be paid off when you pass away? The I is income replacement. So if your family depends on your income to live, and you make $100,000 a year and you want them to be good for 5 years, that's $500,000 off the top that you want to cover in life insurance. The F is final expenses. The average funeral is about $12,000, $15,000. That's not even counting plots and all of those things. So there you go.
Hey,
you add the
ground yet.
huh?
I said,
You're not
in the ground yet.
And trust me, they'll hold you out of their ground until you pay.
Yeah.
And then E is for education expenses or everything else that you might want to fund, whether it's donations to your school, a donation to a charity that you support, all of those things. But if there's education expenses in there for kids, minor children, then you got to add that in. I mean, that can add up real quick.
Yeah.
For people. So, if you're sitting on 500,000 to 750, okay, you might be self-insured. But most of us are not. So we have to leverage our small dollars to create that. And when I tell you that's what the people have been doing for years and passing on. And when I discovered that in my own life, I had to take a seat and said, okay, let's figure this out. And so that's why I try to have conversations, because it's all about the leverage of the life insurance sometimes. It's not even about, oh, I have all these bills and all of this stuff. Sometimes it's you want to leave your people in a better position.
Right.
Than when you got here. So it's some of that. So the same with disability. If you can't do your job for 2 months, I mean, I just saw a statistic last week. I think it said the average American has $200 in savings.
Yeah. Just
regular money market stuff outside of what their bills might be that month. And so if you don't have, a year of expenses saved up, what are you going to do if you can't do your job?
Right.
So insurance is the way to leverage your small little dollars. So if you're filling out your HR paperwork and it costs $3 a month for you to get this short-term disability insurance, get it. Yeah. Trust me, that $3 is going to be worth it if you can't do your job.
Right. Because the alternative, and again, that goes back to the point you made earlier about how important it is to think about the long-term consequences of present decisions. Because right now, oh my God, why am I going to spend $300 a year on this? And then you need it, and now it's some exponential multiple 300, where if you had just paid that up front as insurance, you wouldn't be facing that. Because it's, all of this is about, I love you use the word leverage. And that's something that a CEO does, is that they leverage their knowledge, their resources against the leverage of others to create an even better outcome. Right. And I love that acronym you use, the LIFE acronym. I don't think I've ever heard it spelled out that way, but that's such an important thing. You think about your liabilities, income replacement, final expenses, education, and everything else. So I hope y'all got that. You really need to think about that. And that's just something that, all of this is about building those tools, building those things that are going to help you make wise decisions. And all of this is underpinned by your financial mindset. So we're talking about the technical things and what do you need to have? But the most important thing is having the right financial mindset, to where, again, you're open, to getting advice. You are willing to work with the professionals. You're willing to be honest with them. And you have a healthy mindset about your business, because a lot of times we will have a greater dedication to the business if we own our own business or we work for somebody else. And then when it comes to the business of our lives, we don't approach it as a business. And, this may sound cold, but at the end of the day, a marriage, a partnership, your family, it's a business, because you're making decisions that have financial consequences. And when it comes time to make those decisions, you have to get your feelings out of your finances. And it's not about being cold-hearted. It's about being prepared. And again, using the power of your decisions to make life better for you and for your others. So, because we're talking about, the devastation of the D's, we've talked about divorce, we've talked about disability, death, and we added in their debts, and when is the right time, the perfect time to have this discussion? And is it something that a woman should go and do by herself? Is it something she should include her spouse or significant other in? How does this usually work with your clients?
So it depends. So it depends on if they're on the same page or not. So typically I'll get one to come in if they're not on the same page.
Yeah.
And they want me to be the bad guy and get the other person on their side.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't work that way, right? Because everybody has ideas about, and it's amazing how different people handle their monies together. Like there are some people who act like roommates. And then there are some who are dictatorships. There are some who are partnerships, thank goodness. And so I'm always amazed to be able to talk to both sides of a couple to figure out whose mindset is what. And so usually there's a spender, usually there's a saver, usually there's somebody who cares about the finances and somebody doesn't. And so it's really difficult to get them both at the table at the same time. But it's critical to do that if they're going to stay together.
Right. Because, we're talking about finances after the fact, but that financial mindset and having being on one accord at the beginning helps to avoid issues, because financial stressors, are leading causes and leading contributors to breakdowns in relationships and breakdowns in marriages. So it's important, again, as the CEO of your life, to really be proactive in having these conversations, asking the right questions, making sure that you're having the right conversations, and making sure that you are, again, approaching this as a partnership, because this is not about, getting everything for yourself and being malicious or anything along those lines. It's all about just making sure that you're making informed decisions, and so that you're not having to be defensive. And you can be on the offensive, because you know your finances, you know what you need to do, and you're much better equipped to be able to deal with it objectively and deal with it in a way that helps you to position yourself for that long-term goal and that desired outcome. So of course we're getting, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, but being a woman, I'm here to help all women. First and foremost. So it is perfectly fine to come by yourself to see a financial advisor, kind of talk it out. And certainly from a woman's perspective, I can obviously see how some things roll out and can be, but I can also be that other side of that and devil's advocate to say, well, think about this.
Yeah.
So it's always appropriate to talk about your money. I will say that it's always appropriate to get a better understanding of what's going on with your money.
Because I always like to use this example, because, I love movies. Angela Bassett is one of my favorite actresses. And I always think about this when it comes to divorce is, you want to be Angela Bassett in Waiting to Exhale rather than Angela Bassett in What's Love Got to Do with It. And I always think about, because What's Love Got to Do with It, when she was in the courtroom, basically, she just said, forget it, take everything. I just want my name, right? And then she had to struggle. And of course, it's Tina Turner's life story. But I'm just talking about it from the perspective of that character. But Angela Bassett in Waiting to Exhale, even though she initially was my favorite scene when she burnt all that stuff up.
But walked away. And flick the cigarette.
Yeah, oh, that's my favorite part. I was like, flick that cigarette. But I'm gonna say this: what she should have done was sold all that stuff. Don't burn this stuff. Number one,
don't burn it.
Yeah, don't burn this stuff. You going to jail. That was a movie. That was a book.
Yeah.
All right. The little Arizona or whatever, Phoenix. I forgot where they were. Phoenix, one thing Phoenix, and was somewhere in Arizona. The urban fire department, you know, they didn't take it to jail. You gonna go to jail, you burn all that man stuff up in the front yard. Don't do that. Be smart, sell this stuff, buy yourself something new with it. But anyway, but again, this is all about making those smart moves and making good decisions that you don't regret later. Because go ahead.
You're right.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, along those lines, I'm sure people don't know this, and because I'm always shocked when I see the statistic as well. The average age of a widow in the United States is about 55 and a half.
Yeah. Wow.
So I
guess not. Yeah.
You would think that, but I can tell you, I've had 3 friends to become widows before we turned 40.
Yeah.
So it's very important to be on top of that. For more than the ways that we've already talked about today.
Right.
It just might not work out the way that you think it's going to, unfortunately.
Right. And you know, this is all about, this is not being morbid. This is not being negative. It's just about recognizing that, you know, there are a lot of things in life that we don't have control over. We don't have control over whether a spouse is going to ask for a divorce. We don't have control over whether our significant other is going to face disability or die prematurely. But what we do have control over are the decisions that we make to prepare to position ourselves and our families for being able to have the happily ever after in the aftermath of the unhappiness. So of course we've reached towards the end, and so I just wanted to see if there are any. This always goes by so fast. You know, we have such great conversations, but these are conversations with a little bit of power behind them. You're getting knowledge. But what are some closing remarks that you want to make just to remind women about how to prepare for the unexpected in dealing with those D's?
I would say don't be afraid to call someone, a professional, and have the conversation. There's no obligation to do any business. I'm actually shifting my practice now to be more consultative and moving away from actually investing people's money. I want to make a distinction between that. And so I'm actually moving toward being a financial wellness coach versus a financial advisor. Not that I'm not doing those things, but I just don't want anyone to get caught up in, I've got to invest money with her in order to do this and this and this, what's your minimum and all that. I don't care. I just want people to make better decisions because as you mentioned before, the decisions make the difference. And so I want people to make better decisions so that they can live the life that they want to live and that their families can survive once they're gone.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Of course, it's always a pleasure to talk about making these money moves. And obviously, we've talked about some of the money moves that you have to make in some unpleasant situations, but it's all about positioning yourself through your decisions. So how can people get in contact with you if they want to learn more about how to position themselves to be able to deal with them D's?
Sure. So I can be found on Facebook. My business name is Lasting Legacy Wealth Management right now. Again, I'm going through some rebranding and some exciting things are coming up soon on that. But you can find me on Lasting Legacy Wealth Management, like the page. And even when I do the rebranding, it'll be the same. You'll already be tuned into what that is going to be, but it'll be exciting.
So Lasting Legacy Management?
Wealth Management.
Lasting Legacy Wealth Management. So make sure that you check Dana out there. And again, don't be shy. Don't be afraid to ask the questions that are going to position you for your power moves in the event that you have to deal with them D's. So Dana, I just want to thank you so much. It's always a pleasure getting together, and it's always just a joy to be able to empower others. And I just want to thank you for sharing with our audience about, the things that they can do to prepare themselves. Because again, it's all about the knowledge. It's all about leveraging your talents, your resources, your knowledge with those of others to really take you to that next level to where you're able to make those great decisions. So again, thank you so much. We appreciate you making those CEO moves and looking forward to hearing, because y'all heard she's got a book coming out and she is getting ready to take her business to another level. So later on, we'll have to bring you back when you got the book out and when you've done the rebranding, and we can have a whole nother conversation around that, because we want to support you and see you take it to the next level yourself. So thank you so much, Dana. I really appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you the next time.
Okay.
All right.
I'm excited already.
Thank you. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for joining me in the C-Suite, where we are now getting ready to close out another conversations from the C-Suite, the Girlfriend's Guide to Being a CEO. And this is where we equip women to make CEO moves. And here, remember, we want you to feel something. We want you to learn something, but most of all, do something. Dana gave us some clear strategies on what you can do. So make sure you make those CEO moves, create circles of influence, connect with someone who can help you to do more with your finances, educate and empower yourself so you can elevate your own financial position, and then operationalize what you learn so that you can optimize your outcomes. Because again, whether you report to a CEO or whether you are the CEO of your own business, you are always the CEO of your life. So you want to make sure that you take these strategies to help you capitalize on your most powerful asset, which is the power of choice. So until next time, I just want to thank you for joining Conversations from the C-Suite. I am Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, CEO of C-Suite Women's Network, where I help women and a few good men to be the CEOs of their lives so they can be better CEOs in their business. And we thank you for joining us here in the C-Suite, where we have helped you to make those money moves. So remember, the power is not in the conversation, but in your CEO moves. Don't just talk about it, be about it. But remember, don't wait. Wait broke the scale. Now is the best time to do what you know needs to be done. Remember, your life is the product of your choices. Choose to be the CEO of your life.